Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It is live from our studio here at Adisanwe Kanda in Accra. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up this evening, mounting pressure on Parliament. Will lawmakers reconsider the controversial anti-LGBTQ plus bill or push ahead for presidential assent? We'll be dissecting that matter in a moment. Also coming up, outrage at Tema Community 22 as a nurse is allegedly assaulted by a patient's relative after enforcing visiting hours. We have the swift reaction from the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association and the urgent action they are demanding. And later in the bulletin, Vice President Professor Naana Jane Opoku-Agyemang calls for a full-scale investigation into the devastating fire that destroyed a building at Tudu in Accra. Before we bring you all these details, let's get the news summaries with Nura Mohammed. Hello, Nura.
Hello, Martin. First, in the news summaries, Deputy Minister for Finance Thomas Nyaku has called on investors and development partners to commit long-term capital towards transforming Ghana's rice sector into a major driver of economic growth, food security and industrialization. Speaking at the 2026 West Africa Rice Investments Roundtable in Accra, the Deputy Minister said Ghana was repositioning agriculture, particularly strategic value chains such as rice, as a central pillar of economic transformation. Meanwhile, 70 private senior high schools participating in the free SHS program under a pilot arrangement are demanding the release of arrears owed to them by the government. The schools say government subsidies meant to cover one hot meal a day for students, as well as other recurring operational expenses, have been delayed, with authorities yet to respond to their concerns. And finally, South Africa has abstained from the adoption of the African Charter on Family Sovereignty and Values at the 4th Interparliamentary Conference currently underway in Accra, Ghana. Now, according to the South African delegation, the Charter's definition of marriage as solely between a man and a woman is inconsistent with the country's constitution and the international legal principles it upholds. That's it for the summaries. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Nura. Let's settle for the details of our stories now. We are starting from a viral video. I'm sure many of you may have seen it already, and it has to do with an attack that happened at a polyclinic in Tema Community 22. And a nurse at the Tema Community 22 polyclinic is alleged to have been assaulted by a patient's relative, I should say, after enforcing visiting hours regulations. The incident, which occurred on Thursday, the 4th of June 2026, reportedly happened on the hospital premises during routine enforcement of visiting regulations. The incident has raised serious concerns about the safety of healthcare professionals in clinical environments, and investigations are currently ongoing as details surrounding the assault and patient arrests remains unclear. Meanwhile, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has condemned the physical assault of a senior staff midwife by relatives of a patient at the Community 22 Polyclinic in Tema, calling for urgent national measures to protect nurses and midwives from workplace violence. For more on this, let's speak to Evangelist Dr. Kwekwa Santikrobia, who is the former president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Dr. Santikrobia, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, sir.
I am sure you have also seen the video which has gone viral. Many people are talking about it. And for those who may be listening to us and have not seen it, if you log on to our Facebook page, the video is actually there for you to also get to see what exactly happened. But, Doc, what details have you been able to glean from the video and or your members on the ground? What have they told you about this incident?
Well, thank you very much. I have seen the video, and it is not pleasant at all. The incident that happened at the Community 22 Polyclinic. As I speak here, I'm not sure what position the current national executives are taking on the matter. I'm not sure whether they have responded to it, but probably if they have, you can tell me. But in my view, it is not a pleasant thing at all, and some action has to be taken to bring the corporates to book. I'm just happy that as I'm hearing that the police has come in and they have accosted the gentleman and they will arrange for court very soon.
So, I mean, as a former executive and at least someone who is still within the framework of our health sector, what remedies are available for healthcare professionals when they come under such attack?
Well, the senior midwife is our member, and obviously, once we know that they are fallen victim to these unpleasant and unfortunate circumstances, we must do everything possible to protect her and to take her interest at heart and move towards every direction in making sure that he has received the fairest of hearing as much as possible, and get every protection that is available for us to give her. We will do so, because if we let this thing also pass, it will be a problem. One of the things that you have to grapple in the course of the discharge of the duties of nurses and midwives, because it will demoralize the staff that are working in the various hospitals or in various facilities. And it is also praiseworthy that the Ghana Health Service has taken this matter up. They have issued a statement, and they are moving. They are doing everything possible to ensure that the gentleman is disciplined, and also the senior midwife also giving the necessary support, as I have promised the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association leadership will also give. So it's okay. We have been at the receiving end of insults every time, even when we are not at fault in the discharge of our duties. But this very one, I think that we must have to receive support from the general public in going forward to ensure that the corporate is disciplined and taking through all the necessary procedures to ensure that he is given the he will be arraigned before court, given the necessary sentence if the court believes that that is the way to go.
Right. You indicated that nurses, midwives, and other healthcare professionals have been at the receiving end of all forms of attacks, mostly verbal attacks and in some instances physical attack like we are seeing in this incident. Is it that we have not been able to properly put checks and balances in place to reduce or curb these kinds of attacks?
Well, that is what it appears to be, because at any time that incidents occur, whether the nurse or the midwife is at fault or not, no matter where the direction, no matter what direction the discussion goes, it is twisted. And people who go to the hospital to assess believe that nurses and midwives are not doing their work well. Sometimes it goes forward to involve doctors and other healthcare professionals. And as much as you and I believe, and I've been observing and following very closely, it does appear that it is always the caregiver in the facility or the hospital that is at fault, and not the general public. We believe that the patient is always put, forward. I mean, the interest of the patient should be taken into consideration, and the client is always right. But it should not be considered also that whether you don't do things well or not, we must look at you as the person who is always doing right, and the nurse caregiver is the one doing wrong. So this is what I think the general public must begin to ponder over. And this is what the health authorities, at the highest rate, must also begin to ponder over and see where corrective measures can be, be given so that the interest of the nurse midwife caregiver is always protected. We also have our rights, and that right we will not allow to be abused. All right? Despite the fact that we are always having the interest of the client at heart. So stakeholders, the employer, the paymaster, and the general public must ensure that nurses are given the highest level of protection as much as possible, give us the leverage for us to be able to discharge our duties in the best interest of the general public. And it is very important thing that you have to consider. Very recently, we saw what has happened. The no birth syndrome case, whether the nurse, the midwife, the doctor is right or wrong, people think that so long as a life is lost, so long as there has been infractions in the discharge of our duties, there is nothing that can be considered as the nurse having all the general public believes is that the nurse or the midwife or the doctor is in the wrong. That is the sad aspect of the situation that we find ourselves in.
Right. Thank you very much for your time this evening and the explanation you've brought to this conversation.
Thank you very much.
And you had the former president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, the evangelist Dr. Kweku Asante Krobia, helping us, look at the history of how these things have been recurring and what steps need to be taken to ensure that they do not recur, or at least they are dealt with decisively. Let's stay on the subject matter. This time around, we have the Assistant Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, Philemon Ejapong. Mr. Ejapong, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Good evening and good evening to your listeners.
So the conversation is on what the viral video we are seeing about the incident that happened at the Tema Community 22 Polyclinic. As an association, have you been able to reach the midwife in question, and what can you tell us about her current physical and psychological state? While at that, is the police aware of the incident?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So we sent our regional executives from Greater Accra to the Community 2 hospital to assess the situation and report to us. We got a report this afternoon that they have lodged a complaint at the police station and the gentleman in question has been arrested. They couldn't confirm the arrest, but that's the information that they had. We are hoping to hear whether truly the gentleman has been arrested. The lady in question has been given some psychological support by the association and the leadership at the Community 2 hospital. We have also informed management of the need to put in immediate security measures. This happened a while ago in Rich, and everybody came speaking against the association and speaking against leadership for issuing ultimatum. And because we failed to condemn it, people have become emboldened and think they can take the law into their own hands at the hospital and do what they want. And this is very criminal. We need to prosecute people for violating people's rights. And this purely goes against ILO's Convention 190, for which talks about safe job. So we need to be very practical about and very intentional about prosecuting people who go to their workplaces just to cause mayhem.
Right. So at least there is, based on what you have gathered, the gentleman is currently in the grips of the police, and you say that your executives have also been able to get in touch with the midwife in question. But the bigger picture or the bigger concern is that this is not the first time. These seem to be a recurrent event. Has the association been able to put plans in place to reduce or probably do away with these kinds of attacks?
No, the power is not in the association to do so. It is the management of the facilities that are required to put in security measures at the hospitals, not the nurses or midwives or the healthcare professionals. When you go to every hospital, they are supposed to ensure there is security man at post, and the security man is to ensure the safety of the unit. Unfortunately, they are few, and many a times, patients' relatives, not even the patients themselves, their relatives, who feel they know better than the nurses and midwives, take the law into their own hands and misbehave most of the time. And we think that is very inappropriate. We have issued statements, we have called on the employer, we have called on the ministry, we have called on even the general public to be very cautious of these attacks. Tomorrow when you come to the hospital and you meet a nurse at the hospital, you want to dictate how things should be done. Does the nurse come to the bank to dictate how the bank should run? Or we go to the police station to dictate how the police should run their work? Why does every Ghanaian think he can trample on the rights of the nurse? Unfortunately, the days of old where nurses didn't know their rights and they were very timid, it's past. Now the nurses that have come, they are very intelligent, highly knowledgeable, highly skilled, and they know their rights. They know what they are supposed to do. So you cannot just push them around. And that is unfortunately misconstrued as being arrogant. That is not so. When people stand for their rights, they are misrepresented, they are misconstrued.
Right.
We think that we need to put security in place. If the policemen can be deployed, some policemen can be deployed to the emergency centers of the hospitals, and especially the maternity units, where they come at different times and come for delivery, night, day, and all that. It will help curb some of these situations.
Certainly. Thank you so much, and it's a situation we'll be following very keenly as well. Thank you for speaking to us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
And that is Philemon Ejapong, Assistant Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. And let me just repeat that the video we are talking about is currently being played on our Facebook page. Just log on to Facebook, look for 3FM 92.7. You also get to see what exactly transpired at the hospital, at the Polyclinic. The Tema black T-shirt holding the dress of someone who is dressed as a nurse, and then confronting her very aggressively. We have about 3 people who are trying to separate the 2 of them from the confrontation, but it is looking quite difficult for all of them. And this is what we are being told is an attack by the man on the nurse, because she, based on the reports we are getting, was preventing the man, or was trying to enforce the visiting hours at the hospital. So he is insisting that he wants to see a patient who is a relative of his, but the nurse, we are told, is saying that the hours for visitation were over and that the man cannot be allowed to do so, and it turned confrontational. So we have just heard from the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, who have in a statement condemned the act. Update again we are getting is that the man in question is in the grips of the police, and that some psychological assistance has also been sent to the lady in question, or at least she's been given some assistance regarding how she felt. So we would update you when we get further information regarding this unfortunate incident. This is 3FM 92.7. We're going on to one of our headline stories now, and Will the bill on the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill be brought back to Parliament or not? That's the question on the lips of many people as pressure is piling on the legislators to reconsider their stance after the passage of the bill last week. The latest to add its voice to the campaign is the Coalition of Muslim Organizations Ghana, which is demanding that the recently passed Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill be brought back to Parliament for wider consideration before the President assents to it. The group insists that the new version of the bill completely shields wealthy financiers, sponsors, and advocacy groups from criminal prosecution and arrest. The group further revealed that critical accountability clauses, specifically engineered to legally target, arrest, and prosecute powerful local and international entities that fund, promote, sponsor, or facilitate LGBTQ+ related activities, were completely deleted from the final document. To rectify what it views as a major legislative betrayal, the Coalition of Muslim Organizations Ghana, COMOG, has issued an urgent appeal to all faith-based organizations, traditional rulers, civil society groups, and well-meaning Ghanaians to join forces with the Speaker and demand an immediate reconsideration of the original unamended bill. President of the association, Hajj Abdul Manan Abdul Rahman, has been speaking on this subject, and we would hear him in a moment. But it looks as though he's not the only one who has raised these concerns. Many other people, including the Speaker of Parliament, was unsure of how the bill was passed, especially when he says the instruction he left behind was for them to just consider the bill. Let's listen to the president of the Coalition of Muslim Organizations who's been speaking on this issue.
Ghanaians know our position as a faith-based organization. We are apolitical, and for us to come out at this time, it is just to let Ghanaians be aware that we are always consistent, and we always speak on behalf of our cherished and our component bodies across the country. We are members of National Coalition of Proper Sexual Human Rights and Family Values, and we also belong to the larger platform for faith-based organizations. And so, having heard that the bill has been passed without consultation of the promoters, we think that that was unfair. And having heard from the speakers, we think that we ought to support the speaker's position. For the first time, Ghanaians were united, and for it to come and disintegrate that kind of unity, we think that is unfair. We should be able to unite so that we think about the future of this country. And basically, that is our call. Our call is for us to stand up behind Right Honorable Speaker to ensure that the bill is brought back so that there can be broad consultation before its passage. It is not just Muslims. We are talking about Ghanaians. Ghanaians as a whole. We indicated in our press release that we belong to National Coalition of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Value. It's a broader platform that comprises all the faith-based bodies, churches, the National House of Chiefs, etc., etc. So it's a broader platform. But we think that before the previous one was passed, we were consulted broadly before it was passed. Now, even if there's going to be anything to be done to the previous one, we should be in the know. Well, that is what we are just putting it out there. It is up to politicians who have failed to listen and learn from the mistakes of others and decide to do whatever they want to do. Is up to them. But we think that Ghanaians deserve better. Ghanaians can read in between the lines. It's up to them if they think that that is what will serve their individual interests. That's fine. But we think that Ghanaians will read in between the lines when the time comes. We want Ghanaians first to understand our position. Our position is that we were all together. The first one was passed, and even if anything at all, we should be in the know. But you see, the hypocrisy of this is, apart from Reverend Intim-Fojo, almost everyone who was initially part of the sponsors stepped down. Today, the other side, they are on top of their voices. Where were they when it was passed? Did they put pressure on their government to assent to the deal? No. And here we are. The majority of the sponsors were from the current majority. And what are we seeing? They are all there except one lady, the Asiedu-Dartey MP. But the rest are all there. And how come all of a sudden there is no U-turn?
And that's the voice of the president of the Coalition of Muslim Organizations, Hajj Abdel Manan Abdel Rahman, clearly stating a position about why they also support the speaker to reconsider the anti-LGBTQ bill. Now, let's recall what the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, said last week, where he expressed shock at the quick passage of the bill. And, what he says is an attempt right now to bring the leadership of the House to a meeting to find a way to reintroduce the bill. This is what Speaker Alban Bagbin has been saying regarding this particular bill.
Honourable members, I call on Parliament to rely on the provisions of motions and the conventions of this House to go back to this historic and important bill and reconsider it. The legitimacy, credibility, and enduring authority of any law depend not only on the objectives sought to be achieved, but also in the integrity of the process by which the law is enacted. Procedural law is as equally important as substantive law. What we do here must be able to withstand any legal and constitutional challenges that are sure to come. The bill has from its inception been presented to the nation as a bipartisan legislative initiative. It is therefore my considered view that legislation of this magnitude ought, as far as practicable, to command not merely the numerical support of a majority of members, but also the broad confidence of the House regarding both its substance and the process by which it was adopted. What is right must be done rightly.
Speaker Alban Bagbin there. Meanwhile, a co-sponsor of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, Sam Nati George, who is also MP for Ningo Pram Pram, has called on Parliament to transmit the bill to President Mahama for the necessary constitutional processes. He argues that Parliament's standing orders do not provide room for reconsideration of the bill. He was speaking to journalists on the sideline of the 4th Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values. This is Sam George speaking.
When Parliament passes a bill, Parliament is functus officio. I think that the only role that Parliament has today is to transmit the bill to the President. When it goes to the President has indicated that he will want to have scrutiny of the bill. The Constitution spells out the steps the President can take to scrutinize the bill. He has a number of days after it's been transmitted to him to report back to the House and say, I have no objection. I'm signing it. I'm assenting to it. If he has an issue, he can write back to us and say, I have an issue with this provision, that provision. Parliament should reconsider it with his recommendations. He can't just give issues. He must make recommendations through his Attorney General. Or he can refer it to the Council of State for advice and notify Parliament that I've sent it to the Council of State. There's a number of days for all of this. I think the longest is the Council of State one, which takes 30 days for them to come back to him. If he has an objection, he has 14 days to indicate so. If he has no objection, 7 days to indicate so. I think that that's where we are. Parliament should transmit the bill, warts and all, irrespective of whatever drama may have conspired. Parliament has done its job because the art of a rescission of a passage of a bill is alien to our standing orders. Everything that we do in this House, Parliament is a house of rules. If it was, respectfully to Mr. Speaker, it's not a house of appeals, it's a house of rules. And so if there's no rule in the rule book that gives us room to do what he wants to do, I'm saying that there's still a room in there. The presidency can come back to us and say, Parliament, reconsider 1, 2, 3, and we'll have that debate on the floor and then send it back. And the
allows for a motion to call for rescission of a decision of the House.
No, not after a bill has been passed.
Passage of the bill is a decision of the House.
No, but once the bill, if you read the rules of the House, after third reading, Parliament becomes functus officio. Parliament has no role again to play. So once the bill, after the third reading, that's it. We have to transmit it. Let's transmit it. Let the presidency come back to us with any challenges that they have, if they have. The Speaker can share with the presidency any further challenges that he has, if he has, and let Parliament reconsider. But that's the only route I see here for any reconsideration to happen. I challenge all of those people to show me one African language that has a word for homosexuality.
So that is the MP for Ningo Pram Pram, who is in the person of Sam Nate George. So let's go to the phone lines now and engage the Advocacy Advisory for the Coalition of Youth Development and Human Rights Organization, Chapter 5. I'm talking about Robert Akutu-Amoafo. Very good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Thank you for having me.
You have heard the back and forth about the debate. First of all, I'm sure that in the very early days when this bill was even being considered, you had reservations. Now Parliament has passed it, albeit with all the issues being raised. And the President, the Speaker of the House have all said that it looked like it still has to be given further consideration. What do you make of all of this that is playing out post the passage of the bill?
Thank you very much. As an individual and as a human rights advocate, clearly I am not for the bill at all. Its passage is a waste of time, a waste of all of us, our breath, and a waste of money. And having seen how fast it was made, it was considered, and the process it went through, it clearly shows that our priorities are not at the right places. If our priorities are the right places, we'll be focusing on the floods that hit Accra most recently. We'll focus on a lot of the issues that we are facing in this country. So for me, the hula baloo, the issues going back and forth, it clearly shows that this bill is not something that we should have even considered at all. It is something that doesn't have locus. If you look at it, it doesn't have good standing on any proper research. And so for me, this is my reaction to it, that it doesn't have any stands. I mean, the first time we tried it, it didn't go anywhere. The second time, look at what the fiasco we are having now. So clearly, this bill is not something that we should look at. We should focus on other things that are very important to us as a country.
Right. So, well, as it stands, it looks like it has gone past that stage, and then there is a conversation about it at the very top, whether it be reconsidered or not. We are told today you organized a demonstration. Can you update us about why this demonstration and what was the end game you had in mind?
So it wasn't a demonstration, more of a celebration of families. You know, we believe that our march was based on the fact that we believe that African families are diverse. African families are beautiful in their own nature as they are. We do not need to define African families in a charter. As you may be aware, there's a 3 days conference, interparliamentary conference going on at the Parliament House about African family values and sovereignty. And we don't believe in that. We think that it is, again, a waste of time and just going back to what is not necessary, instead of focusing on what is necessary. Our lawmakers all over the continent are just wasting their time again. I just heard the representative from South Africa letting everybody know in the House that it's against their constitution, it's against all the international laws that they have signed for human rights. And Ghana and many other African countries also are signatories or have ratified a number of international human rights treaties that this charter that they are trying to work on are against. So then that is why we did the march today.
Right. How do you foresee this playing out? As we speak, there isn't clarity. The Speaker says it should come back to the House for reconsideration. The majority side say that, well, it's been passed already, so what's left is for the President to take it, and then if he has any concerns, raise it, and then it be brought back to Parliament. But if the bill is being considered at this very level, how does that, what do you make of it? And especially with this advocacy that you are on, are you looking forward to maybe a total scrap of the bill, or maybe you think that they might pass it, but it might be a bit more lenient when it comes to issues of how there is a general consensus as if issues of LGBTQ should not be discussed at all?
I think if you look at the purpose of the bill, or what the main focus of the bill is to criminalize the identity and existence of human beings, which clearly, as a human rights advocate, I'm against. I always ask the question around what harm do these people cause in existing, in being who they are. Over the long period, we've had committing, LGBT people live amongst us for so many years. Nothing has happened. Nobody has caused any alarm. It's just been with us. I mean, many people have said how they know one person or the other who lives in their community who is gay or whatever it may be, and we've not had issues. All the issues that some of these MPs are talking about, we have always told them that if you look at the statistics clearly, men who have sex with young girls or girls and men who rape women have a high incidence than any other incident that you can talk about. So why are we not focusing on that and helping to address that? Just because it is about men, because of what men do. But anyway, my thing is this bill is unnecessary. I don't think it is something that we should do at all. We should just scrap it. We should just kill the bill and focus on things that really, really, really matter to Ghanaians. If you go to the street today, an MP should go to their constituency and ask their constituents, what is important to you now, today, that I as an MP should focus on, and that is what we should focus on. I think that is the most important thing for some of us to say. Economic issues are very important issues for us. Now, the MPs and MPs who are sitting in Parliament in this conference that is happening are talking about sovereignty. But we are saying real sovereignty is when you as MPs are able to make laws and pass bills that put money in people's pockets, that help people to get jobs, that help people to get food to eat, that help people to live a full, precious life, that children will not be standing on the streets and begging, that we will not have problems that a country like Ghana should not be having, and we'll be comparing ourselves and saying somebody from the West is bringing something to us. Well, we have not looked inside and solved our problems, and we are talking about sovereignty. So for me, I think it's important that we do a values clarification, clarify our values. Remember that we are not a religious country. We are a secular state because we don't have only religious people living in Ghana. And not all religions agree to everything that every religion agrees to. And that doesn't mean that we should make laws on things that we all do not agree to and punish people because they do not align with what we believe. So for me, I think it is unnecessary. It's a fiasco. It is a distraction. And as you may see the politics that's being played. MPP had it, and they didn't want to pass it. So then they went round, and didn't do anything about it. NDC came, and NDC was pushing. It was leading the bill then. Now NDC is in, and then MPP is pushing the bill and saying we want the bill to be passed. We don't want something is inside that needs to be reconsidered. It's because they are just distracting us. And we as a people need to draw their attention to what is important to us, rather than letting us distract us with other people's personal and private lives.
Thank you very much for your time. Can you please let us know what the name of the group is? I wasn't sure. Is it the Advocacy Advisory for the Coalition? Kindly let us know what the name.
So the organization is CHEVS. It's CHEVS, CHEVS, just that. Yes. Okay. And it's a regional human rights feminist organization that works across African countries to ensure human rights protection for all persons. Yes.
Right. Thank you very much, Robert Akoto-Agyemang.
It's a pleasure.
Right, he is a human rights advocate there, sharing his thoughts on the current bill, which is, whether to be sent to the presidency or to be returned to Parliament is still a conversation we are having. Would update you when the next major decision regarding that is taken. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. Stay with us. When we return from this break, we'll be taking you on to some other stories regarding the big issues in Ghana. Vice President Professor Naana Jane Opoku-Agyemang has called for investigations into the fire and the building collapse that happened 2 days ago here in the capital, Accra. Details of all of that and more in a jiffy. Let's go on to some other stories now. And the Vice President, Professor Naana Jane Opoku-Agyemang, has called for a thorough investigation into the circumstances that led to the devastating fire that gutted a building in Tudu, Accra, stressing the need for accountability and stronger enforcement of building regulations to prevent similar incidents in the future. Speaking during a visit to the affected area, the Vice President expressed concern over the condition of the building and questioned whether warning signs had been ignored before the disaster occurred. Let's listen to the Vice President on this.
On Wednesday, June 3, fire gutted portions of the police barracks near the Accra Regional Police Headquarters. The fire displaced several occupants, prompting emergency response teams to intervene and prevent further damage. The Vice President, Professor Naana Jane Opoku-Agyemang, on Friday, June 5, visited the area. The Minister for the Interior, Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak, first briefed the Vice President. The Vice President noted that while the immediate focus should be on supporting victims who have lost property and address the trauma experienced by affected residents, it was equally important to examine the factors that contributed to the incident. She urged authorities to assess the structural condition of the building, determine whether it was being used according to its intended capacity, and establish what failures may have occurred.
I'm very happy to note that we have not lost a life. But the important thing is that we don't get to this place as often as sometimes we do get to them. First, we need to examine this. What is the state of this building? For how long has it been in the state of near disaster? Because we'll need them going forward, so we don't repeat the situation.
The Vice President commended the Greater Accra Regional Minister, the Member of Parliament for the area, personnel of the Ghana Police Service, the National Fire Service, the media and other stakeholders for their swift response to the emergency on Wednesday. She presented relief items including mattresses, blankets, bags of rice, sugar, bags of beans and boxes of cooking oil to persons affected by the fire.
And so you had the voice of, you had the report by Evelyn Tingba, who brought us the voice of the Vice President who visited the area. Let's go to Adenta now, because the collapsed building site at Adenta, debris lies untouched as National Disaster Management Organization NADMO prepares to clear it, leaving the family unable to salvage their remains of the property. Frank Jiba, brother of the homeowner, says they are now homeless and perching with friends and relatives while thinking on the next line of action for the family. There's more in this report.
A family has been left homeless after a two-story building collapsed in Adenta, claiming the life of a mother and injuring her children. The children, now receiving treatment, continue to cry out for the mother who will never return. Frank Jiba, a relative who sustained injuries, says they are waiting for the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, to clear the debris so they can salvage what remains of their belongings.
I was also trapped, and by God being so good, the load on me wasn't enough, so I was able to come out myself. And we are waiting for NADMO to or to clear the stuff so that we see if we have any valuables remaining that we can pack, then you know our way for it. Because if we leave right now and they start clearing things, people might come around, still other stuff that are left.
Frank narrates that one child who was discharged from the 37 military hospital on Thursday was later rushed to Swan Clinic after complaining of severe leg pain. Several tests and x-rays are being conducted before further treatment is administered.
My cousin is still at the hospital, still responding to treatment, and one of my nephew, we just had a call that they said he was feeling unwell. They took him to the hospital and they said the wounds are having infections, so they are working on that.
At the hospital, the deceased sister, Felicia, broke down in tears. Now left to care for the children, she says she will have to shut down her tissue paper business and continue her late sister's tomato business to support the family.
I'm supposed to take care of the kids. There are 3, including my own, making 4. We have a sick mother too. For me, I want to continue her business so that I will use that one to take care of her kids. Because that's the only thing I can do for now.
Back at the collapsed house, relatives lament the massive debris blocking access to their property.
President Mahama, Yepaucho na asemia 2 year wa adenta new site no. Yakita nkola.
We are pleading with President Mahama to come to our aid. We have lost everything, and I am not in good health. Our children are not going to school anymore because of the incident.
Musima ye rao yaka ekomusu di Yepaucho.
Unya access into their rooms.
The debris has blocked all access to the rooms.
And here that report which, updates us on what has happened in the last 48 hours after the building collapsed at Adenta. You heard the voices of some family members, expressing frustration as to the fact that they are unable to get access to the rest of their property that is under the debris, which is yet to be cleared by NADMO officials. We'll get further information and update you on it. Before we go to business, the Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, Dr. Hugh Brown, says the Tree for Life program started by the government in 2025 seeks to raise awareness about the vital role of trees in protecting the environment, combating climate change, and restoring lands and rivers degraded by illegal mining, also known as galamsey. As part of the initiative, the government will distribute millions of seedlings of ornamental and food crops. This is aimed at helping revegetate the land. These seedlings will be provided by various government agencies, the private sector, and the general public for nationwide planting. Speaking to 3FM, the Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, Dr. Hugh Brown, says this year the program will build on the successes chalked from last year.
Restoration is at the core, and we are restoring lands that have been deforested or degraded by different forms or different agents of deforestation. So mining is definitely one of that. But if you again look at what we achieved last year, the focus was more on lands that have been destroyed through wildfires in the northern savanna, in the transition zone, in the high forest, areas where we've had illegal farming, and not much attention was given to the mine-out areas because of the how expensive it was to do it. So last year's budget did not provide for restoration of mine-out areas within forest reserves. However, the ministry was able to syndicate some funding from the private sector and some lands outside forest reserves in Ashanti region. Mined-out areas were restored.
See, now, based on your own analysis.
And so that's the CEO of the Forestry Commission, Dr. Hugh Brown. Now, the initiative also aims to inspire Ghanaian youth to embrace environmental stewardship. Tree for Life is Ghana's national campaign to get every citizen involved in planting and caring for trees. And on the back of that, we'll roll into the world of business, which comes your way in a jiffy.
Every woman deserves hair that looks and feels Hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Securities and Exchange Commission SEC directs investment firms to design diaspora-targeted products to drive foreign capital inflows. Details of these and more, I am Michael Obodu. Please do stay. And now straight into it, and the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC is urging investment firms to develop products targeted at the Ghanaian diaspora to attract more foreign capital into the economy. The call comes on as the government intensifies efforts to position Ghana as a preferred investment destination and mobilize resources for growth. Speaking on the sidelines of a meeting with regulated entities, Deputy Director General Mensa Thompson said firms must seize opportunities to expand their international investor base.
I realize that there's a lot of interest in the diasporans to invest back home, but they just do not have the means and the channel to do so. And so it's part of the reasons why we are meeting the brokers who are the market makers here, that there's a wider market out there that you are not looking at. How do we come up with the necessary tools and frameworks to absorb and to attract the diasporan capital to come home? And we've heard the president talk about remittances. And this year we've exceeded about 8 billion in remittances. And even if out of this 8 billion, 4 billion is finding its way to the capital market, it's huge. And so the president and even the governor of the central bank have been talking about this remit to invest drive that is, really being pushed within the market. And it's one of the things that is dear to us as SEC, because as part of our mandate, we are supposed to develop the market. So we are discussing with the real market makers to understand how we can help them so they can also be able to create necessary channels so that diaspora capital can flow in to invest in Ghana.
You heard the Deputy Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Mensa Thompson. Now, the Ghana cedi is projected to maintain its stability and remain below the 11 cedi mark against the dollar by the end of the second quarter of 2026, according to finance and tax analyst Nelson Kujo-Kuagbeji. His forecast comes off the back of IC Insights projecting that pressure on the cedi is expected to persist through June 2026 as elevated energy prices continue to drive high foreign exchange demand. The local currency weakened by 4.6% in May 2026. Speaking on the currency's outlook to 3 Business, Mr. Kwabeji explained that the market is gradually moving away from the season of increased commercial demand for dollars.
We are gradually moving away from dividend payment season. Most multinational companies will actually stop or cease repatriating profit back home. Businesses have also restocked, and so we don't expect those who are into importation to be demanding more dollars to, import into the country, most especially those who are into the business of the consumables. Ghana Stock Exchange is doing very well, and so a lot of investors are having so much confidence in the Ghana Stock Exchange. And so instead of buying their dollars and pull down, they would rather prefer to go and invest within the Ghana Stock Exchange or even the fixed income market. And so most investors will be channeling their investable funds towards the Ghana's financial market rather than buying and holding the dollars. And finally, we have also been told that the Bank of Ghana will be intervening within the market in the month of June to the tune of about $1.2 billion. And this FX intervention mechanism is expected to curtail the depreciation of the Ghana cedi, because $1.2 billion is such a significant amount to meet the demands of the market. And so, given the above background, the cedi is expected to remain below 11 Ghana cedis by the end of the second quarter.
You hear the finance and tax analyst Nelson Kujo-Kuagbeji speaking. Meanwhile, a senior fellow at the Africa Policy Lens has observed that the current economic climate exposes the true state of the Ghanaian economy and serves as a direct wake-up call for the government to reassess its import dependencies. Dr. Boachi Yadom specifically pointed to the country's heavy reliance on imported fuel, noting the substantial amount of foreign exchange required by bulk generation companies to maintain fuel prices. He spoke to 3 Business.
I have always maintained that last year gave us the opportunity
to structure the economy and invest in key sectors rather than propping up or continuous injection of over 10 billion to support the city. So if we have to do the same thing again this year, it means that we'll need about over 10 billion to support the economy. I mean, in terms of the dollar, and which is very expensive. Remember, we were on IMF program for $3 billion. So if government needs to continue the injection, I think that it will take funds from key sectors. It will take attention from key sectors. Now we are now seeing the true state, and it's telling government what to do. That the things that we keep importing, for example, the fuel we keep importing, we change so much to BDCs to import this fuel. Government should have, I think, short-term and long-term approach. One of the things that government did last year, which is the injection, was a short-term approach, and it has proven that it will not be successful in the long term.
You hear that Dr. Eric Boakye-Yardum, a senior policy analyst at the Africa Policy Lens. Before we leave you, from devastating floods and prolonged droughts to threats to food production and livelihoods, the impact of climate change are increasingly being felt across communities. Experts and policymakers agree that climate change and environmental resilience must be treated as critical security issues requiring urgent and coordinated action. There's more in this report.
Climate change is increasingly impacting livelihoods, food systems, public health, and economic stability. Climate change advocates say it is urgent for climate issues to be mainstreamed into national security planning, and that building resilient communities is critical to safeguarding the country's future.
These things will be reoccurring again and again until we know that we have to really do things differently. We have to invest in anticipatory action. Anticipatory action begins with awareness. Anticipatory action begins also with simulations. Anticipatory actions also begins start with we having the bold and political power to go ahead and prevent some things like construction on waterway, making sure we move people from flood-prone areas to less flood-prone areas, safe haven creations, early warning systems being put in place. And these things we can do.
Environmentalists are calling for deliberate investment in adaptation and environmental protection, warning that climate-related shocks could worsen poverty and displacement.
We also translate our research findings into policy briefs so that we can inform government on what is going on in terms of climate for informed decision. Ghana is one of the countries in the sub-region that has a very robust policy when it comes to environmental and climate issues. Ghana is leading when it comes to negotiations at the COP and other fora. And we believe that, yes, there is hope that in terms of climate change, a lot of actions have to be followed.
The Ministry of State in charge of climate change and sustainability says government is committed to implementing policies aimed at enhancing climate and environmental resilience.
Climate change is a lived reality. It's about behavioral issue. GES is already collaborating with the Office of the Minister for Climate Change and Sustainability, and we are sure if we catch these young ones at a tender age, they will be change agents. The communities have to be involved. Our traditional leaders, whoever is an actor in the climate change, has to be involved in getting all these issues addressed.
Yearly on World Environment Day, the West Africa Science Service Center on Climate Change and Adapted Land Use, WASCA, provides a platform that brings together stakeholders, including government officials, civil society organizations, academics, and international partners. The event aims to move the national response to climate change beyond slogans and into practical action.
And on that note, that's how we end the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more stories, please check out our website, is3news.com/business. Thank you for tuning into the show. As always, please stay safe. Catch you same time next week. Bye-bye.